Now, let me explain what I mean when I say fanboy. I mean a person who will buy from a brand regardless of what that brand has as a product. You'd buy their product no matter how much of a shiny turd it is, just because it has their name on it.
A fanboy is not someone who is actually that willing to criticize their favourite franchise, in this case the Star Wars franchise. A fanboy is the person who is so committed and so devoted and obsessed with Star Wars that they are blind. They just won't hear criticism at all. Everything that comes out of the Star Wars franchise is pure artistic gold, weaved by geniuses.
Now, the definition of a fanboy. Whew. A fanboy is someone who would pledge allegiance to a certain company. They will live and breathe it and not really expose the negatives and just pledge allegiance to this one thing.
I would love to be able to just click a magic button and suddenly make you think like a rational human being. Be able to absorb facts and understand opinions rather than make endless mountains of excuses for something that you have a preference for. And you will defend this to your dying breath.
And I think better than just like explaining what we feel fanboying is, let's just give you an example. Wow, it's the Batman fanboy in the flesh. How are you today, sir?
Not as good as Joel Schumacher's Batman and Robin.
Well, that's not true. So, Mr. Batman fanboy, did you really love The Dark Knight Rises?
Absolutely!
Why did you love The Dark Knight Rises?
Because it had Batman in it!
Oh, okay. Well, what about the whole pit thing? With, you know, putting Christian Bale in the pit.
Listen, if I was Bruce Wayne in that pit, I would have watched reruns of Batman and Robin on TNT. That's what he should have been doing. Phenomenal movie, it had Batman in it.
They can only accept their truth. There's only one Zool. It's like it's their way or the highway. It's the only way. And let's steamroll over everybody else. That's a fanboy fangirl. That's why I don't like being called one.
Fanboys are not the people like me who are willing to actually make critical commentary about Star Wars. Fanboys are the people who watch something like The Last Jedi and they're just like, oh, it's so amazing. I gotta breathe, I can't believe it. Luke Skywalker, he was drinking the booby milk. We found out where the booby milk came from. I've been waiting for years to find that out, and it's just it's like symmetry. It's like poetry. You know, remember there was the coloured milk in A New Hope. His aunt and uncle, they had it on their farm, and now he's getting coloured milk from the boobies of a sea mammal.
To me, when logic escapes anything that comes trickling out of that person's fingers or mouth or anything, any part of their body, clean or unclean, is just so tainted with, like, do you have a brain? Like, what? Where do you get that? What planet are you from? You're not operating on this plane of existence with me, because I cannot believe what I'm reading or seeing or hearing. And when you've locked yourself out of logic, I think that's usually the label fanboy kind of gets attributed to that. And that's why another reason why I'm very careful about using the word fanboy, because of the negative connotation that surrounds it.
Why do we keep going back product after product? The new iPhone is announced and people are already lining up to buy it without even a glance at the competitors? Well, that's because of a little thing called choice-supportive bias. Choice-supportive bias can actually create false positive memories around a person or product we've chosen to combat buyer's remorse. This makes us defend our previous purchases without any real critical thought.
Well, you talked about the original trilogy, and it's like people responded to those movies with such fandom and excitement because they liked the movies, and now that's inverted. Now they're responding to
more about the brand.
The brand, and before the movie comes out.
Do you ever get just like super pumped for a movie? Like the new Star Wars. I am obsessed with the new Star Wars. One of those movie nuts. Like I must have watched the trailer like 200 times. Oh my God. Star Wars! It's beautiful!
You're so excited for a film. Then you see the movie. You're in denial about how bad it actually is. And you spend the next months, years, just saying, this movie was really good, guys, defending it all the time. You're saying everything is right about it, and then like 2 years later, you're like, it wasn't really that good.
Like those those Star Wars like fan conventions. What are they called? Disney Expo.
Star Wars Celebration.
The Star Wars Celebration, where they're like, here's the trailer, and it's like an auditorium of like 50,000 people, and they're all like cheering, and you know, they have people up there, and it's like a political rally, and you know, Kathleen Kennedy's like pounding her fists on a podium, and, you know, everyone's like, you know, holding up signs, so you have this weird flock mentality, sheep mentality of people that are just like blind fans to this. It's almost like a cult now. And then the movie comes out and everybody hates it. And then they say, here's another one for you, and everyone fills up that auditorium again and starts like cheering, and it's strange. I think to me the strangest part is people just like screaming their heads off. It's like Beatlemania, like another Beatles reference. It's like the girls screaming on the Ed Sullivan Show for something, except it's grown men and women.
Men, mostly.
Mostly men, wearing like porg costumes. They're in their 40s, and they're like pulling their hair out and screaming, and it's almost like conditioned, like a political rally. And that's kind of what I mean, where it's like our political candidate can do no wrong. They're perfect in every way. Look at our political candidate, you know.
There ought to be like two different terms. Let's distinguish the two types of people. We talk about reasonable people and unreasonable people. Now, I've been shooting with a Nikon for well over 20 years. I've got more Nikon lenses than God. Tons of Nikon cameras. But anybody that's watched my goofy face for a while notices that I've been attacking the hell out of Nikon for doing some really stupid stuff. Okay?
As a young kid, 12 years old, I kind of enjoyed the movie. I thought Jar Jar Binks was an okay character, but years later, when my brain developed, I realized how bad the movie was. So I came to the conclusion it was a bad movie, even though I like Star Wars.
At one point, I was a bigger fan of Microsoft Windows. I loved everything that it enabled me to do. I loved just about anything, not everything, but I was a fan. You know, I saw it, you know, I wasn't just a fair weather fan, I was a fan. And then it just seemed that the operating system was changing around me such that I wanted to continue to be a fan, but I felt like it wasn't allowing me to be a fan. And so that's one of the reasons why, you know, some people say, why are you so hard on Microsoft? Because I think they need to be better. I think they deserve to be better. I think we deserve a better Microsoft.
I love it when it's good. I still acknowledge when it's not good.
I remember as a kid, I was a diehard Batman fan, and my parents took me to see Batman and Robin. I was really excited to see the movie, loved the character of Batman. And when I was watching that movie, I was like, Mom, why is there nipples on this? And what's Arnold Schwarzenegger doing looking like an ice cube? And even as a young kid, as much as I love Batman, I came to the conclusion that wasn't the best interpretation of the character of Batman, and it was an awful movie.
If it was something they really know so much, they would expose like what they don't like, but also embrace the stuff that they do like.
If Nintendo f***s up, I f***ing say it. If Sony f***s up, I say it. If Microsoft f***s up, I say it. If there's anything that is f***ed up, you should say something, because if you give a f***, then you take a stance and you tell them not to do it. You put your foot down and you tell them, stop. Just stop. But no. Fanboys, they're all about spooning with their favorite company.
One of the things I hear the most is that you need to not be so critical. You need to turn off your brain and just have fun. You need to accept movies for just being mindlessly enjoyable.
But as far as turning off your brain, well, if we all did that, you know what kind of movies you would get? A lot of Amazing Spider-Man 2s. And that's essentially the only movies we wouldn't have classics like T2 Judgment Day. We wouldn't have Rocky. We wouldn't have The Shawshank Redemption. We just have a whole bunch of Amazing Spider-Man 2s.
Exactly. And that's what I fear could happen. Because studios are seeing that as a trend. That people are like, well, that movie was good enough. Or that movie was fine. Stop hating on it. It wasn't that bad. We want great movies.
Think about it this way. We're going to just create a company now. We'll call it X Factor Company, okay? X Factor Company makes products. They have a huge following. But X Factor, since all these fans they have, they don't really have to work anymore. And it's true. If you fanboy a company so much, that you'll buy whatever they make, you make that company where they no longer really feel like they have to work. I mean, why would they? If you're going to buy their product just because you like their name, you don't care if other people, make better products. Well, I'm going to tell you something right now. If you think any corporation out there is above bullshit, no offense, but pull your head from your ass because you're going to choke to death. So if they could sell you a cheap plastic ass product that would only last a couple of weeks and you buy millions of it, do you think that they would honestly care at all that it was a crap product? They don't care whatsoever. Fanboys, honestly, when they get to the point where all they do is buy a frickin' brand because it's a brand, they're killing the industry, they're killing competition, and they're making companies so they can sit on their laurels and rely on their crazy fans just to buy their product because they like the brand name.
Like people that own stock that have like blind brand loyalty to a stock. It's like, I love Apple, I'm gonna buy. Not meaning me. I got a lot of Apple computers, but I'm not loyal to Apple. They'll just buy like 1 million shares of Apple and they're gonna hold on to it. People like that always lose their ass in the stock market. Always. Anybody that's a stock investor that gets attached to a company and it's like the stock goes, they're like, I still love this company has a lot of... No. A lot of people did that with IBM stock and they lost their ass.
This is fine. I'm okay with the events that are unfolding currently. That's okay. Things are gonna be okay.
Whenever I post a new piece of video commentary about Star Wars, particularly commentary that might present criticism of the new Disney Star Wars films, it doesn't take long for someone to appear in the comment section to either accuse me of being a fanboy or make a comment something along the lines of, you know what, you fanboys are everything that's wrong with the new Star Wars. You're ruining the new Disney Star Wars movies with your blind obsession and your hatred. You just need to stop it. You're just a bunch of children, a bunch of man babies. You just need to get over your butthurt and grow up. It's not 1970 anymore. Star Wars is awesome under Disney, and the sooner you realize it, the better.
Oh, you Nintendo fanboy? Oh, those gay little kid games? Oh, Sony fanboy? Oh, weak ass online? Oh, Xbox fanboy?
A pathetic insult often used by fanboys themselves to try and put down people who don't like whatever it is that they like.
You see, I think this term fanboy is now being used as an excuse. It's a way of not actually having to respond to valid criticisms that are being made about the technical or artistic or storytelling aspects of Star Wars. Instead, you just call someone a fanboy and say, ha, see, they're just a fanboy. You don't have to listen to what they say.
I have stated that I'm going to buy an Xbox One instead of buying a PS4, and I get tons of people in the comments, oh my god, you are such an Xbox or Microsoft fanboy. And I don't really see it that way. I think that comes from people who are Sony or PlayStation fanboys and are upset that I have made a choice on a console that is not the same that they have made.
The point is that we need to stop with this stupid obsession with calling people fanboys just because they hold a view of the new Star Wars films that you disagree with. And like I said, I don't think it's a very accurate description either, because in actual fact, I think the fanboys are the people who are so blindly devoted to something that they won't hear any criticism. And it seems to me that those are the very people who are actually passionately and often at great lengths going out of their way to defend The Last Jedi and to claim that it is some sort of new artistic and sheer brilliant frontier that Star Wars has now crossed over into with this latest addition to the franchise.
So how do we break away from all this? I don't want to be a slave to my human brain, or more accurately, the companies that are taking advantage of my human brain. Well, step number 1 has already been completed. Learn about fanboyism so you can identify them when they're happening. Take a step back when you feel yourself getting riled up and really look at the facts. Allow yourself to be honest about the product or person you're fanboying about.
You know what would be great? Is if the next Star Wars, what is it, fandom?
Star Wars Celebration.
Celebration. It's just like 11 people scattered throughout this giant auditorium.
Well, that's not gonna happen. You know what?
it's not gonna happen, you know it. And then they go, can everyone come down to the front row? You all don't have to spread around. We can see you closer if you come down to the front.
I've been waiting 15 years since Return of the Jedi came out to see the prequel.
There's no way it's going to be a disappointment.
Are there any of you that think this is going to be a lousy movie?
No! It'll be a great movie 20 years from now. It'll be part of 6 great movies. Unless the next 2 really suck, but I don't think they will.